This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A late-breaking story still developing tonight, one that apparently involves the international drug trade and other strange happenings. Police in Texas and Mexico this evening confirmed reports of a mass grave containing 12 bodies near the Texas-Mexican border town of Matamoros. One of the bodies was that of Mark Kilroy, a 21-year-old University of Texas student who disappeared in Matamoros a month ago. Kilroy was on spring break from college with 3 friends. They said he left them as they were heading back toward the border bridge, and they never saw him again. Kilroy's parents made several desperate trips to the area, handing out leaflets and pictures of their son, but they turned up no leads until the discovery of the mass grave today. Mexican police say they have arrested 4 suspects in the case. The police said that the suspects were drug smugglers who were involved in what is called some kind of voodoo practice. Except for Kilroy, none of the victims has been publicly identified, but there are indications tonight that other Americans may be among the victims. Now, we have a full report on this in the making, and we'll pass that along to you later in the broadcast. In Washington, more sparks at the Oliver North criminal trial today. North was peppered with new challenges to his attempt to portray himself as just following orders. Prosecutor John Kecker also posed new questions about whether North and or his operatives profited off of Iran-Contra wheeling and dealing. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver reports on Kecker and North crossing swords on cross-examination.
Today, prosecutor John Kecker focused on convincing the jury that Oliver North is a master of, in Kecker's words, the 100% old-fashioned all-American lie. Kecker took North through a grueling account of the false answers he devised when Congressman Mike Barnes and Lee Hamilton wrote to the White House questioning North's Contra support activities. North admitted that some of the answers were deceptive, false, and misleading. Kecker asserted, in the U.S. Naval Academy, you would be kicked out for this. But North insisted, in the U.S. Naval Academy, nobody ever taught me about running a covert operation. And when North claimed that he was only following orders of his superiors, Kecker responded, at the end of World War II, German officers said, I know it's unlawful, but I was told to do it. You were trained that to say I was ordered to do it was not good enough. North, I don't believe I've ever received an unlawful order. Kecker pushed on. Didn't North have any moral qualms? North, the fact is, I don't think it was right, but I didn't think it was against the law. Judge Gerhard Gazelle wanted to know, did you at any time in this process consider in your own mind not doing it? Just saying, no, I won't do it. North, no, I did not. The prosecution also tried to show that North hid from the government word of the huge profits that North's friend, arms merchant Richard Secord, was making from the Iran-Contra initiative. Kecker charging that North was using his good offices to get the CIA to rent a ship from Secord for a secret mission, giving Secord as much as $500,000 in profits. Kecker, you agree with me that General Secord is a patriot at a very comfortable salary. North, I agree he was a patriot. Kecker, at a very comfortable salary. North, those were your words. And Kecker forced North to admit that he had several nicknames for the CIA. One was fools. The other, North said, was not a word I'd like to use in the company of ladies. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Federal Courthouse in Washington.
The Cincinnati Reds have won 4 games and lost 2 this young baseball season. That's good enough to put them on top of the National League West. It's also a lot better than their manager, Pete Rose, is doing off the field. Just about every day brings stories of new accusations claiming to link Rose with gambling on baseball. But nothing official, nothing on the record. Frank Courier has been investigating the latest accusations and reasons for the law's delay.
CBS News has confirmed tonight through several sources that former friends of Pete Rose have told baseball investigators how they placed bets on baseball games for the Cincinnati Reds manager, including, some say, bets on his own club. The sources insist on anonymity, so in Houston, on his first road trip of the season, Pete Rose is the only one talking on camera and playing ball, he says, with investigators.
I did a lot of small things, cooperating with everybody. I mean, you know, tax records and checking accounts and that kind of stuff. The whole ball of wax. We're not trying to hide nothing.
The sources confirm for CBS News that Rose phoned in bets through bodybuilder Paul Jensen, a government informant serving time for tax fraud. Other Rose bets, sources say, were made by Tommy Giosa, a former friend indicted for drug trafficking and tax evasion. The wagers, they say, were usually placed through bookmaker saloon keeper Ron Peters, who's awaiting sentencing on drug and tax charges. As the investigative net widens, Rose has distanced himself from Jansen, Giosa, and Peters, who are all now negotiating with federal investigators for reduced sentences in exchange for information about Rose's gambling habits.
You guys got to realize I used to work out 3 times, 4 times a week at Gold's Gym on a regular basis. And those guys all worked out there too. They were my friends working out. They helped me work out. That's as far as it goes.
CBS News has learned that Major League Baseball was told Rose bet up to $16,000 a day on the game in the spring of '87 and bet regularly on the Reds to win. Rose denies it, saying his turn to talk with Chief Investigator John Dowd is still to come.
I'm obviously going to have a time to sit down with Mr. Dowd and talk to him. I would think he'd want to sit down and talk to me.
So he's not getting the whole story?
He hasn't got my story yet.
If investigators can prove Rose bet on the Reds, he could be banned from baseball for life. But testimony from convicted felons must be substantiated by credible witnesses or documents. And that, sources say, is the reason this gambling probe is now into its 7th week, with no end or verdict in sight. Frank Courier, CBS News, Houston.
First Lady Barbara Bush will enter Walter Reed Army Medical Center tomorrow. She is to be treated with radioactive iodine, what's described as a standard treatment to try to correct a thyroid gland problem called Graves' disease. The medication she's been taking the past 3 weeks to try to block excessive production of hormones from her thyroid hasn't worked. The thyroid condition has caused Mrs. Bush to lose weight and produce some eye irritation. Now, still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, correspondent Bruce Morton on young people and what to do to get the plague of drugs off our streets.
Going to Providence St. Mel in the heart of Chicago is something special because almost every graduate goes on to college. And thanks to the people at Dow, we get scholarships, money for this old building, even books and tuition so my teacher could go after his PhD. Says he'd love to pay Dow back with a scientist.
Yes, you can make a difference in what tomorrow brings.
Maybe this scientist.
Dow lets you do great things.
How strong is Extra Strength Tums EX? Heartburn strikes, Tums strikes back. Heartburn's gone that fast. Tums EX, twice as strong, twice as fast as regular Rolaids.
Check again.
We interrupt this transaction for a reminder.
So what's your approach?
There's one travel tip it pays to remember.
We've got one good option.
Choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
Daddy loves you too.
Nice job, everybody.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
The truth is, heart specialists concerned about aspirin irritation recommend Ecotrin over Bayer to help prevent second heart attack. Consult your doctor about the only brand of aspirin that's safety coded to protect your stomach. That's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
Calmer weather in Alaskan waters today spurred renewed efforts to clean up the Exxon mess, the nation's worst oil spill, but additional areas are now threatened by the gooey mass. More than 10 million gallons of oil gushed from the supertanker Exxon Valdez when it hit a well-marked reef last month. And as the oil slick spreads, there are growing indications of a backlash against Exxon. James Hattori begins our coverage.
A break in the weather let Exxon send workers back to the gooey shores of Naked Island, one of the few areas where cleanup has begun. The work is painstaking, rock by rock, handful by handful of thick, sticky oil.
There's no doubt in my mind that the long-term environmental consequences of the Prince William Sound oil spill will far exceed those of Chernobyl or Bhopal.
Overnight, high winds and seas collapsed a barrier encircling the tanker Exxon Valdez. More oil sheens surround the ship, still under repair in Prince William Sound. The storm also took out 2 booms protecting the Sawmill Bay salmon hatchery, but a third stopped the oil from poisoning fish pens. Fishermen call it a near disaster. For the first time, oil washed ashore at Kenai Fjords National Park. Coast Guard cutters and fishing boats have stepped up, booming and skimming. While the storms let up a little, officials are bracing for wind shifts, which could send oil back toward shore.
Often, when you have that calm, it'll be followed by a southeastern, and that is what we fear.
Piles grow higher each day on boats collecting casualties.
It hasn't really hit me yet. I'm not seeing dead animals, I'm just seeing plastic bags.
Well, come on up to the morgue later.
This is the scene of the grisliest work of all. Biologist Cal Lensing used to count the living in Prince William Sound. Now he counts the dead.
You're not numb to it, but you can't let your emotions run away with you either on something like this, or you couldn't do the job.
Exxon has enlisted the Russians to help with this disaster. A Soviet oil skimmer, the Vey-Dagursky, possibly the world's biggest, could arrive here as soon as this weekend. James Hattori, CBS News, Valdez, Alaska.
Exxon's corporate image, like the waters at beaches of Prince William Sound, seems to worsen by the day. An image reflected in oil slicks, gas price hikes since the spill, and coast-to-coast consumer frustration.
I think it's a rip-off from the gas companies to the public.
I used to buy super unleaded, but now I have to buy the cheapest one.
We shall cease all business with the Exxon Oil Company.
As they did with the congressional pay raise issue, radio talk show hosts nationwide are talking protest, and listeners are responding.
Here is my Exxon card and Exxon Travel Club token. Stick them up your oil spill.
A marine biologist from Florida returned his credit card to Exxon in an oil-filled bag. The bumper stickers in Seattle urge boycott. The T-shirt of the day in Valdez proclaims, "We're Exxon. We don't have to care." Some politicians say the company's official attitude isn't much better.
It shows, I think, an extraordinary level of callousness and disregard and incompetence on the part of Exxon.
Analysts say the cost of gas was on the rise well before Exxon's ship ran aground, that the disaster created panic in the marketplace more than anything else. But some Exxon dealers already grumbling about the company's pricing practices say the disaster is spilling over on them.
I'm proud to be a part of Exxon, but I'm just not proud of what's happening right now. I can't say I'm proud to be an Exxon dealer right now.
Exxon said today its officials were too busy dealing with the disaster to comment on consumer boycotts or corporate image. And Coast Guard officials now directing the cleanup effort said there's no sense looking for a scapegoat.
I think Exxon's trying to be a good corporate citizen. It's very difficult when you're the perpetrator to correct that image.
An image that needs as much work as the waters and beaches of Prince William Sound. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Much of beautiful Miami didn't look much like Miami today. Thick, acrid smoke from brush fires in the Everglades wetlands rolled over the city, forcing evacuations from an alien detention camp and warnings to people with breathing problems. National Guard helicopters dropped water into high-intensity fire areas. Brush fires are normal this time of year in Florida, but the unusually dry winter is posing particular problems for firefighters this time. One tourist said, "I came here for sun and I got smoke." Figure that out.
My mama used to scrub all day till our house smelled as fresh as a Carolina pine forest. I don't have all day, so I use Lysol Pine Action. The dual action top squeezes for small spaces, dilutes for big jobs. So this whole house feels like home. Lysol Pine Action, the clean of pine in less time.
New Light Scent Love My Carpet. The light scent not to be made light of. It's tougher on tough carpet odors than Arm & Hammer Light. Light Scent Love My Carpet. Delightful.
Today's X-Lax is a good morning, guaranteed.
Good morning.
Good morning. Medical experts agree. X-Lax actually restores the level of natural fluid in your system.
Good morning.
X-Lax, the sure way back to natural regularity. Guaranteed.
Tickets for Webb.
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder. The Discover card actually pays you cash back for every charge.
I hope you like this.
It pays to Discover.
Now at Red Lobster, one great thing deserves another and another. Introducing our great seafood trios. For a limited time, find 6 new trios starting at $7.95. More of everything you crave. Like 3 great tastes of lobster, a new trio of shrimp and crab, Something for everyone. Starting at just $7.95. Kids dinner $1.95. Don't miss the great seafood trios at Red Lobster. And get a half pound of snow crab legs for just $3.95 with any entree.
We're now ready with a follow-up story on our lead report of the night, the discovery of that mass grave near the Mexican border town of Matamoros. One of the victims, a missing American college student who disappeared a month ago during spring break. Bob McNamara is covering this bizarre story.
Authorities announced the grim discovery late today in Brownsville, just miles across the border from the Mexican ranch where the mass grave was found. One of the dead, a missing University of Texas student.
There may be other bodies. There may be questions about how many are Americans.
It was the search for 21-year-old Texas medical student Mark Kilroy that led authorities to the mass grave. And though Kilroy's parents had assisted police for weeks in a desperate search for their missing son, the investigation had come up with few clues until today's startling discovery, what could be the work of a satanic cult.
They would have their sacrifice so the police would not arrest them, so bullets would not kill them, and they could make more money.
Authorities say because many of the victims were severely mutilated, forensics experts may be needed to determine the identities and the nationalities of all the dead. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Brownsville, Texas.
First major veto battle on legislation shaping up tonight between President Bush and Democrats in Congress. The Senate has approved increasing the federal minimum wage from $3.35 an hour to $4.55 an hour, what would be the first increase in the minimum wage in 8 years. President Bush has vowed to veto any increase above $4.25.
My favorite city in the world, Old San Juan.
Let me show you the rhythms that echo through the night. Let me show you a chef who knows more delicious secrets than stars in the sky. Let me show you a culture 500 years strong, and how this ancient city can capture the heart forever.
Puerto Rico, the shining star.
When you've got hemorrhoids, walking is hard. Sitting, worse. Anusol has an anesthetic for the pain and itch of hemorrhoids. Prep H doesn't. Anusol has an anesthetic to take the hurt out of hemorrhoids.
If every time you look around it seems like your rug is dirty, try Woolite Spot and Stain Rug Cleaner. Because it contains the ingredient Fiberpel, it keeps your heavy traffic areas cleaner longer than the other liquid spray. Trust Woolite Spot and Stain Rug Cleaner.
What do you take for diarrhea? Ah, the old standby. If you're like most people, lots and lots of the old standby. Well, now there's something more advanced. Imodium AD, with a medicine now available without a prescription. So Imodium AD can often stop diarrhea with just one dose, instead of all the spoonfuls you may need of the leading remedy. One dose of Imodium AD. It can make your first attack of diarrhea your last.
Japanese Prime Minister Takeshita reversed himself today. He admitted taking $1 million from the company at the center of Japan's big political corruption scandal. Takeshita insisted that he had done nothing illegal. He refused to resign. CBS News Tokyo correspondent Bill Whitaker is covering Japan's government crisis.
For 3 hours today, an embattled Prime Minister Takeshita fought for his political life. Under sharp opposition questioning, he said the $1 million he received from the recruit company was a legitimate political donation, not a bribe, and he rejected calls that he resign. The Prime Minister's parliamentary appearance, watched by millions on television, did little to stem the public outrage over the recruit bribery scandal, a scandal threatening to topple his government and weaken the ruling party's 30-year grip on power.
I think he had better resign.
It's not just one important politician or prime minister, but almost everybody is involved.
So far, 3 cabinet members have resigned, a score of politicians have been implicated, and 14 people have been arrested for bribery and influence peddling. Like the Lockheed scandal of a decade ago that brought down the Tanaka government, Recruit has exposed the dark side of Japanese politics. It's tradition here for politicians to give gifts of money to constituents at weddings and funerals, and for big business to contribute generously to politicians. Money is the oil that keeps the whole system running, but there's a sense here that this time things got out of hand, that too many politicians have grown arrogant and greedy at public expense and foreign prestige. There's growing concern the scandal is damaging Japan's reputation, exposing a hidden trade barrier.
If you really want to get into the big time here, you have to hand out a lot of money to politicians. A lot of Western businessmen are just not used to doing this.
Pressure is mounting for Takeshita to resign. Even some within his party fear he has become a liability. Vice Finance Minister Seiichi Oda says the party will lose forthcoming elections unless Takeshita steps down. The problem is, if Takeshita does go, who will step in? There are no politicians untouched by the scandal powerful enough to take his place. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Tokyo.
The Soviet Navy said today it will try to recover the nuclear-powered submarine that sank last week off the coast of Norway. An official said the craft is believed to be mostly intact under 5,000 feet of water. Soviet TV tonight showed some of the 27 survivors who were rescued after an hour and a half in nearly freezing water. The other 42 crewmen were killed. Ethnic winds continue rising inside the Soviet Union. It was a day of mourning in Soviet Georgia for 19 people killed in the clash between Soviet troops and nationalist demonstrators Sunday. Soviet police arrested hundreds of people for violating a curfew, and a Kremlin spokesman said the police were temporarily seizing hunting rifles from thousands of Georgian citizens.
This is what I wonder. If this is just right, how can that one be just right? I mean, here they have fruit and nuts with all those flakes, and there they have fiber nuggets, huh? So this isn't just a little better, or maybe it's a little worse. It's just right, just like the other one. Hey, they both taste great and they give you all those vitamins, but the thing is they're doing it in different ways. So they may both seem just right, but it's just not physically possible.
Kellogg's Just Right. For the perfect blend of 100% nutrition and great taste, no other cereal is just right.
Of course, I've been wrong before.
My favorite GM car I worked on. Kept it all these years, even after I retired. Every time my son looks at it, he smiles. Very popular at the time, I tell him. My boy's at GM now, building beauties like this one. One thing hasn't changed. We still build them to last.
GM cars have held their resale value better than any other U.S. make.
Just this much Cortaid heals more kinds of itches and rashes than all of these. Because Cortaid has a clinically proven healing medicine they don't have. That's why Cortaid is the itch aid.
Suddenly, the English muffin takes a new turn. Oatmeal Goodness Bread introduces English muffins with oat bran. All the important oat bran of a bowl of oatmeal in each one. And a crunchy, chewy taste you can't turn down. New from Oatmeal Goodness.
President Bush is now backing a high-publicity $80 million try at cracking down on the Washington, D.C. drug scene, paid for with dollars diverted from other national drug programs. Tonight, in the second of two investigative reports from the streets of Washington, correspondent Bruce Morton focuses on possible long-term solutions there and in devastated towns and neighborhoods around the nation to try to break the cycle of dealing, addiction, and violent death.
Few corporate recruiters tour the projects. Few of these kids will program computers. Many will make money the new-fashioned way by dealing.
If you just want $500 a day, you can make $500 a day.
What should society do? Arrest them? Lock them up?
I think at some point, if you lock up enough people who have committed violent crimes or other drug-pushing crimes, you do begin to run out of pushers.
Washington, D.C. police arrested more than 43,000 people last year. But Lorton, D.C.'s prison meant to house about 5,000, is jammed with more than 6,000 inmates under court order not to take more.
People are in and out literally as quickly as the police officers can make out the paper.
And Lorton is expensive, $19,000 per prisoner per year. Fife, an ex-New York City police lieutenant, would spend the money elsewhere.
What will end the problem is reducing the demand for drugs, and there's no way that the police, the courts, and the correction system can do that.
What about stopping supply? Well, in 1988, Navy and Coast Guard ships sailed more than 2,000 days, spent more than $40 million, and seized just 17 drug-carrying boats. What about changing the kids?
There are generations of kids who are born into hopelessness in those places, and unless they're changed, this ain't going away.
We have not been willing to invest in first-class services for kids who are part of families that are not society's winners. In order to do something about it, we have to be willing to spend some money.
Sociologist Shore means a lot of money. Head Start, which everyone says does work, cost $1.5 billion last year and reached 1 eligible child out of 5.
Work him, work him, work him.
Small local programs can help too. Mitch Creedle is a police officer and a volunteer coach working with kids at this police athletic league gym in one of the city's worst neighborhoods. He coaches, he worries whether they've done their homework. He's the father, the big brother these kids never had. And he grew up here. He is proof you can beat the odds.
And I just show them, hey, I got all my things a positive way, and I come from the same environment that you come from. If I can do it, you can do it. All you have to do is want to do it.
Some kids have raised their sights.
I've learned discipline and self-respect, and respect for others.
I can look forward to what I want to do and what I want to be in life.
Some may make it. Some, the coach says, will die in the drug wars within a year or two.
A good percentage will not make it. And this environment is hard. It's very hard.
We've got a worse drug problem than we had 10 years ago. And the reason is that it's so darn profitable.
And that has Baltimore's mayor, among others, wondering, couldn't we take the money out of drugs, hand them out at public health clinics or something?
So I think if we decriminalize drugs and allow these addicts to come in the public health system, we would substantially reduce the crime that has plagued our cities.
I have no doubt that making it legal would take organized crime out of the business.
Education, decriminalization, some combination?
I think the fact of the matter is that we have dug ourselves into a hole as a nation, and we're looking for ways to climb out.
One young dealer says there is no way.
There's a new baby born every day. So I look at it the same way as drugs. It's going to be drugs sold every day.
Proving him wrong will cost a lot of money. Taxpayers will have to decide they want to spend the money.
I don't want to live in a country where mothers have to bring up their children in fear of their getting killed by random gunfire. I think we all have a stake.
Cassius Keys used drugs and sold drugs and died in the street. His sister Tony.
I really wish we could help. We need help. We really do need help.
Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Kathleen Sullivan.
And I'm Harry Smith. Did Jim Wright do wrong? Tomorrow, the problems facing the House Speaker.
Also, David Burney joins us on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.